Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast. Source. Oh, God!
Oh, my God! Broke that chair over. This is the brilliance of the architect.
And stay down. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I, Jesse Starcher, have returned to the Source Material Comics podcast. And I hope Mark Radulich understands that his jaw is going to perpetually, don't laugh, perpetually be broken. As long as I am here to make sure things... Am I screwing it up yet? Things stay the way they are. Well, that was interesting. That was my most favorite intro, I think, of all time, right here on the. Yes, I can't believe it. So, okay, first off, Mark Radulich.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I know you're here, Iron Man, Mark Radulich. As a matter of fact, you're here under the protest of your own body, actually. I can't thank you enough for once again continuing to hold up the banner of the podcast as I've been away and become essential. But
I have two things to tell you, but I'm going to whisper both of them. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I want to whisper so only you hear it.
Okay.
I'm going to whisper this in your ear.
I'll listen.
First thing, take your show back. Second thing, you ready?
Uh-huh.
Make it gayer.
Oh my goodness. Wait, I wasn't expecting this. Is that what the fans have been clamoring for the past year?
No.
You get that?
I've not heard any. I mean, like, I'm just saying. I mean, you know, I think it's just gay enough.
The boys are back in town, and that's Ronnie Adams. Ronnie Adams, welcome back. Hey, man, welcome back to the Source Material Comics podcast. I don't like it's weird doing this live. Okay, I'm kind of out of my element.
Oh, crap. Nobody told me we're live.
We're live, dude. We are live on the air. Well, I don't know about live, but this will go up as soon as
we're live to tape.
Yeah, live to tape, as in like I have no patience to edit Source Material Comics podcast. That's pretty much why you haven't heard me for the past year.
I don't know why I'm stressing so much about being live.
Dude, how many times have we done that in the past?
Many times. That and now I stream.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Which is awful.
I know that. I know that you guys were going to talk Volume 2 of Invincible.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I've got to be in on that because the first volume, Ronnie and I talked about that back in 2016. As a matter of fact, it's almost a year and a month, or excuse me, 5 years and a month ago. It was April of 2016. Yeah, and I listened to the episode again today even after editing it, doing the syndicated source material and all that treatment to it. I listened to it one more time today, and it's funny because I'm like, we're definitely talking about Volume 2 soon.
And we didn't.
And it just kind of we had. Then Mark Radulich showed up and said, "Here's the schedule." And I was like, Invincible's nowhere on here. I don't understand for the next 5 years. And then, thank goodness, a TV show came along. Because now we have an excuse to sit back and talk about Volume 2 of Invincible. So, Mark Radulich, I know that you started the series today on Amazon. How far did you get?
The better question is, how much was I awake for? No.
I finished. Is perpetually asleep.
Perpetually.
I am sleepwalking through life these days. I have 3 episodes left.
Oh, you cruised through them then, because you just started this afternoon then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I neglected my family.
Well,
as you should.
I understand that.
My kids came home. I was just finishing up Castlevania, and they're like, "Can we?" I'm like, "I don't give a shit what you do. Cocaine, heroin, YouTube. I don't care. Just go. Leave me alone. My mouth hurts." They're like, "Okay."
I just want to give you a hug, Dad.
I'm in my underwear. I'm in my underwear. I'm like smearing orange gel in my mouth. Leave me alone.
Oh man.
And they still approached you?
No. As soon as I told them they can go to their rooms and watch YouTube, they were like, "Fuck off," and like ran away.
Well,
They were Lily and Jonas-sized puff of clouds. That was it.
Nice.
off they went.
And
So
my
you-
wife, my wife sent me a text message. She sent them in the house. Like she brought them home from school, and they came in and they were like, "Can we?" And I'm like, "I don't give a shit. Leave me alone." Like, okay, great. We love it when you're sick and tired and busy doing stuff because then we can do what we want. And I'm like, I know, right? Right. So like, when I'm actually interested in my children, they have to do stuff. When I don't care, they're like, woohoo!
Don't make us do anything, Dad.
Yeah. So my wife went and ran errands, and she sent me a text while she was out. She was like, "How about instead of hamburger helper, breakfast for dinner?" I'm like, "It hurts to chew. I don't give a shit." So
Bless your heart, man.
Put it all in a milkshake. Send it over.
I'm like, I was willing to eat soup, but sure, breakfast for dinner. That's mostly soft food. So she comes home, and she's like, I'm making dinner. I'm like, I'm in the bed at this point. I have left the living room because I did not want to watch. I did not want to watch Invincible. Not like sure what it was just yet. I wasn't sure like how graphic it was going to be.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't want to watch this in the living room and have my kids walk through, and I don't know. There's like hardcore fucking, or someone's fucking a corpse, or two corpses are fucking. I don't know.
No.
What?
Don't remember that happening in the comic, but
we need to talk about this, and Ronnie and I will get more into it on Wednesday night when we talk about the show. But the show seems to be much more graphic than the comic.
Yeah.
yeah, they definitely didn't pull some punches. I sat down. I sat down and watched it with my daughter and my older son, Colton, who, he's the 7-year-old. I'm like, man, you can't watch this. So he's got his headphones on. Yeah. He's got his headphones on and he's sitting there watching his phone. And so he's not, I assume, not able to hear anything. And then as we get into like one of the climaxes of this volume that we're going to get into,
not the kind that Mark was hoping for.
Yeah. He's at that point dropped the phone and he is focused solely on Invincible on the TV.
Oh man!
And I was like, okay, well you're in for it now, so we watched the rest of the series. so
yeah,
all right.
So my wife brought me my dinner in the bedroom, and I like got through the first 5 episodes, and I have 6, 7, and 8 left.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, you're cruising right through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Ronnie, you and I talked about this. Our I guess, adoration of Robert Kirkman and what he's done in the past. Can you think off the top of your head? We don't. I feel like we could go ahead and rehash what we already said on the first on our first podcast. But tell me about
5 years ago.
I know. I mean, I have no idea.
You didn't tell me about homework.
But the syndicated source material was like a month ago.
It was indeed. Ronnie Adams.
Okay. All right. You got me there. Shut up.
Tell me about Robert Kirkman in your life and where you first remember hearing from him and what you've read from him and all that.
Oh, Robert Kirkman was zombies all day long.
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard of him, Marvel Zombies, Walking Dead, and then I got into him through Invincible, and then I read The Astounding Wolfman. I think it's The Astounding Wolfman.
Yeah, okay.
And then I read some of that, and then I read Outcast, which is kind of a paranormal one he did about. Actually, it's about possession.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they made it a Cinemax show for a while, and just like all Cinemax shows, it was on for about 3 seasons, and they were like, "Nah, we're good."
I didn't know that ended up being a show.
It did.
Oh, that's cool.
It sure did. So I've been all over, and like Robert Kirkman is like legitimately one of my favorite writers.
Yeah.
Just because he does fresh takes on stuff. He stretches things out, but he knows when to end them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Walking Dead's still going because he's still telling stories people want to hear. he ended Invincible because he didn't see where he was going to go with it after this. After the initial run, I mean, like, gosh, how many issues did they do? Like 100 and something. It's over 100.
It's 144 episodes of Invincible.
So
it got issues.
Issues, yeah. No, you're fine. Don't let it happen again. But it's like I followed from issue 1 to issue 144. And legitimately, I didn't see where else he could go with that either, because it just keeps getting more astounding. It's just like, what in the where are you going to go from here? What galaxy, planet, city, whatever are you going to try to dominate from here? And it was such a fun series. I mean, like, a lot of people want their comic books, the newer comic, like any new comic book comes out, it's just like movies. They want the next I can't remember the name of comics. They want the next
well, I wish I could remember it for you.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm trying.
Because I'm like an idiot right now.
The next big thing?
No, not big. Well, I'm trying to think of one where all the superheroes are old.
Oh my goodness. Well, I was going to say Jupiter's. That most recent one had a bunch of old superheroes in it. That Jupiter's Circle or Jupiter's.
Jupiter's a planet that nobody cares about.
Jupiter's a planet.
Jupiter's Legacy. Jupiter's Legacy, people.
Right, Jupiter's Legacy.
That new Netflix series, Jupiter's a planet.
But no, it's a DC comic. Kingdom Come.
A planet. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
So they want that. They want the next massive, success. They want the next Killing Joke. They want all this other stuff. But they just forget to have fun when they're reading a comic book. It goes from what fantastical thing is going to happen next to, I wonder how much this issue is going to be worth, in 5 years. Well, that's not what it's about. I feel like Robert Kirkman still wants people to have fun and read his books. The end.
Yeah. Well, you're the guy that pitched me on that. You were like, you got to check out Invincible because I was solely. I say solely. What's that?
DC Marvel guy.
Yeah. I wasn't really going outside of that too much there, especially around the time that you and I were talking in 2016. Yeah. I did love The Walking Dead, so I knew of Kirkman from that. I watched the show before I read the comics, and the comics were unbelievable. I was just amazed at how well he could write.
Better.
Yeah. And so you were like, you got to check out Invincible. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So that got me started reading the first volume. And, of course, we talked about it, like I said, 5 years ago. Mark Radulich, Robert Kirkman, does that sound like anybody you had a reason to pay attention to prior to checking out Invincible?
No, nothing has changed since you last talked to me about comics. I still don't know writers. Christine and I talked Brian Michael Bendis today. I know him now. And
yes, you do.
And complained a lot about him.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That's a totally different show that I'm going to have to do with you once your jaw heals. Because you're going to be talking a lot.
Well, the one thing that I want to do at some point is I want to sit Mark down and have a discussion with him
about how writers should tell their story in the book they're doing and not make you read 87 other series.
Oh, now, were you referencing me as the one that yelled at you, by the way? Because I almost took umbrage, sir. I did not yell at you, by the way, about reading the other parts of House of M.
No, it was Robert.
Okay, I was supposed to say, damn it, man, I was just trying to say, if you wanted to spend more time in the House of M world, trust me, 1,000 other issues that happen in that.
No, you were fine. You just sent me a reading list, and I was like, fuck your reading list. Books are for burning.
Yes, you did.
And that was the end of it.
That
then
tracks.
Robert... Yeah. And then Robert was like, how dare you be mad that he didn't tell the story in the story he was telling, and that, they were employing a well-known thing in comics where they make, where they do crossovers and they make you read other issues. And I was like, okay, first of all, stop yelling at me. Second of all, my argument is tell the story in the book and then use the crossover stuff for ancillary stuff. Like when we talked, I think it was Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion and Civil War, I feel like, did a good job of putting the ancillary material in the crossover stuff, but you didn't need them to know what was going on in the central narrative. Don't leave parts of your central narrative in other books. That was my argument. But Robert Winfrey, God bless him, he's my brother from another mother, and I love him, and I would not be able to do this without him, especially in the condition I've been in lately. But, like, if I say something and he in any way disagrees with it, he practically breaks his neck tripping over himself to yell at me about it.
Welcome to the mountain conversation.
No, I'd rather not. There have been a couple of occasions I have thought about breaking up that network chat. Like, I'm done with this. I'll contact you all individually. I will take the extra steps.
Mountain chat was not it, though, huh? That wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back yet. So we'll have to find. I still
find the network chat to be a useful medium for getting information out there, fast. Yeah. But him being a mountain snob nearly broke me.
Oh, that's great stuff. Well, the point.
To answer your question, no, I don't know anything about Robert Kirkman.
Okay, all right. I just want to, at some point, I want to sit down with you, and we need to just kind of look at the past, like we kind of do on the Metal Hammer of Doom extras, the past year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and just say, okay, man, what were the books that you really liked? So put a pin in that, because we're going to do that at some point, whenever I become less essential.
I'm looking at Comic Vine right now, and when I put up Robert Kirkman, the things that came up were The Walking Dead and Invincible. Has he done anything else?
Ronnie rattled a couple off there. Ronnie, you said Marvel Zombies, right?
Yep. I haven't read that.
And I've read the first two of the first two series, because it's like Marvel.
He didn't do all of them.
No, he only did the first two.
Yeah.
And when I expanded this, I can see the list now. Yeah, I've never read Ultimate X-Men. I've never read Wolfman. I've never read Outcast. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I've never read this iteration of Marvel Team Up, Super Dinosaur. I mean, some of these look like really fun books, but no, none of Savage fucking Dragon, not on your life.
I don't think you know what you're talking about, but all right.
You don't like Savage Dragon?
He doesn't have a reason not to. He doesn't have a reason not to. Don't get him started.
Every nerd I grew up with, just tripped over themselves over Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane and fucking Wildcats and Image and your pocket 90s comics and Savage Dragon, and y'all can just blow me.
Wow. Mark. Wow.
Okay, Dick. First of all, it was different, and they all look like Wolverine, so it was cool.
Hang on. I found something I would rather read by Kirkman. If you guys want me to read more Kirkman stuff, I found something I am more than happy to read. He did a Space Ace limited series.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, man. Cool. I would read the Space Ace comic, and then I would do a watch along to the video game.
There you go.
Battle Pope is an independent comic book created by Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore, which was published by their own small press company. The series was reprinted in color. Okay, the book tells the tale of a hard-drinking, womanizing Pope condemned by God for his own evil ways.
I forgot about Battle Pope, and I remember now why I forgot about
it. Who is called to action to save St. Michael with the help of Jesus H. Christ, becoming mankind's final hope in an world.
That's why I forgot about it.
Does Battle Pope team up with Warrior Nun?
Well, you never know. It could possibly happen.
I would totally read Battle Pope, by the way. That looks amazing.
I had a feeling you would. That was his early stuff, man. We're talking, they say publication dates early 2000. Mm-hmm. So
why do I expect anything different from the guy who made me read the Flintstones?
And
Jesse made you read that, not me. I just tried to convince you that it was good, despite everything in your being saying it was bad.
It was garbage.
I think that right now would be a good time for me, after Mark's 90s comics diatribe, to plug the fact that I do a comics podcast called The Unspoken Issues Podcast, focus on 90s comics. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Check that out. Don't listen to Mark Radulich.
What I just heard was, I'm Jesse Starcher, and I do a nerd podcast for nerds who obsess about nerd stuff.
So
I like that you had a little bit of a lisp when you said that.
Yeah, I totally since I have a giant hole in my tongue, I totally sound like a fucking fat neckbeard. Well, technically, I've listened back to some of these shows recently, and I'm like, this is fucking embarrassing, man. I am everything I hate.
Oh, don't be so hard on yourself, man.
I love it. I think you're wonderful.
Well, thank you. Technically,
yes. Oh, thank God you said that. Oh, it gave me life just now.
We're going to go ahead and get into the book now, okay? All right, here we go. So we're talking Volume 2, which, just to kind of run down here real quick, the title of this volume is 8 is Enough. Now, if you're an Invincible reader, you may have collected the trade paperbacks and noticed that there is a common theme amongst the titles of the trade paperbacks. The first one being Family Matters.
Mm-hmm.
This is 8 is Enough.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is called Perfect Strangers.
I'll stop doing that.
And then we have, there's 25 of these things, and I'd say at least 90% of them are, they're all titles of 80s, 90s sitcoms. Three's Company, Head of the Class, Facts of Life. That's great stuff. Not to mention that, hey, Mark Grayson, Invincible, goes to Reginald Vell Johnson High School, and that will be mentioned again, I think, here later in this episode.
Say something, and I know I should save it for the show that we do about the show, but Reginald Vell Johnson actually voiced the principal of Reginald Vell Johnson High School.
No.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's fantastic.
First of all, yes, he's alive.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, everybody thought he was dead. Jerks. Talk about Carl like that.
Carl Winslow. Well, okay. So the creative team here in this volume, I've got it up here real quick. There's actually a very creative team. They're only doing 4 issues. We have, in the first 2 chapters, written and lettered by Robert Kirkman, penciled and inked by Corey Walker, colored by Bill Crabtree. Now, as we get into Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, obviously the writer stays the same, Robert Kirkman, penciled and inked in Chapter 3 by Corey Walker, colored by Bill Crabtree. Now, there are some sequences that happen to show you some of the Guardians of the Globe, and one of the names that stick out there is Eric Larson, who does the, I believe he is inking the War Woman sequence, which is pretty cool. But there's a whole host of them here. I'll just run them down here. Terry Stevens, Matt Roberts, Tony Moore, Mark Englert, Eric Larson, Dave Johnson, and Cliff Rathburn. Now, on Chapter 4, Ryan Otley makes his appearance, which that's a name that you can get very, very used to seeing here with Invincible, because he does that for quite a while, doesn't he, Ronnie? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So Kirkman writes it, penciled and inked by Ryan Otley, and then colored by Bill Crabtree again. So let's get into the first 2 issues here. We'll talk about what's happening. So the first chapter, I should say. While Mark's dad, Nolan, or as the rest of the world know him, Omni-Man, is off on a secret mission with the Guardians of the Globe, he is able to call Mark to alert him to an incoming threat just outside of Earth's orbit. Mark, when I read this again, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite issue. Mark is at first worried about being able to survive in space, but with some encouragement from his father, he dons the Invincible costume, holds his breath, and leaps into the sky. Once there, he is immediately attacked by a one-eyed pink alien named Alan. As the two brawl, Mark learns that Alan is there on a mission to challenge the planet's champion to determine the planet's ability to withstand oncoming threats, and that this was approved by the planet. He also says that he has been doing this challenge against his father every 3 years for the past decade and a half. Mark explains most of the people on the planet don't even believe in aliens, and this seems unlikely. Alan checks a communicator, and the two learn that Alan was supposed to be doing these challenges to a planet named Urath. Alan thanks Mark for clearing that up and heads back into space. Back home, Mark eats dinner with his family, recanting the day's events, while his mom chastises Nolan, saying maybe he needs to start using more of his brains instead of his brawn. Chapter 2. While Mark and Nolan play a game of catch by throwing a baseball around the world in the sky.
Around the freaking world. How cool is that?
That's awesome. Nolan recounts how during their previous battle with the time-dilated aliens, we talked about that on the first volume, Nolan gets sucked into a portal, and he's in this alien universe. We don't know what happened to him. He just comes back. He sits down at the dinner table, and he just looks like he has been through hell and back. And it turns out he's been away, even though in our time it was 2 days or 3 days. In his time, it was 8 months. It took him 8 months to get back. But he sits down. He's telling Mark that, hey, when you saw me get sucked into the portal, you yelled "Dad." And Nolan tells him that he needs to be more careful, or he could be facing more of Omni-Man's villains. Later, Mark is going with his friend William. I want to make sure I get that right. William.
Yeah.
to Torah College campus. To Torah College campus. William and Mark take a rest on a bench, let's try that again. Take a rest on a bench out on a campus green when through the wall busts a large hulking machine looking like a cross of a Cyclops, Terminator, RoboCop. This strikes terror to those on the green, and Mark leaves to get his Invincible costume on. But as soon as he returns, the cyborg impales itself on a large sundial out in the middle of the court. When he comes back as Mark Grayson, William lets him know that he sees right through his guise, and he now knows that he is invincible. We also learn a little bit about Black Samson, which I don't know if he's named in this second chapter, but Black Samson was kicked out of the Guardians of the Globe, I believe, and he's working to try and get his suit back. But we also learn that he could possibly be insane as well.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the superhero robot has been asked to try out for the Guardians of the Globe, and is now disbanding the teen team. Sometime later, Adam Eve heads back to the teen team headquarters, walks into a room, sees something apparently very disturbing off panel, and collapses in a sobbing mess. And that's where we end chapter 2. So, Mark, I'll give you first crack at these first two chapters. What do you got on your mind?
Let's see.
A lot?
Or not enough.
Go to Ronnie first. Sorry. Go to Ronnie first.
Okay, that's no problem. Ronnie Adams. First
Yeah.
First chapters, man. We get all this stuff that happens in these first two chapters where out of the blue this cyborg shows up and just kills himself in the middle of a college. We have Mark learning about Alan the alien. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Can you go to Mark first? I'm kidding.
Go ahead, start.
I have never. Okay, so the cyborg was like that piqued my interest.
Sure.
I was like, okay, what's going on here? And so, I mean, of course, that keeps me reading. But I've never, I'm a sucker for those angsty, stupid teen TV shows.
Sure.
And this has never been more angsty. And I was all in, man.
Yeah.
Just because of the drama that's involved in Mark's life and everything. And but the real standout was the Alan showdown.
Oh my gosh. My favorite part of this whole book, even though it gets crazy, but for some reason I'm all about what we discover and how Mark kind of discovers himself a little bit as a superhero facing this alien. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, it shows how much he's like his dad, but how much also he's got that human part of him that he gets from his mom, that wants to talk things out and doesn't always punch first and ask questions later.
Yeah.
He's just like, wait. Let's talk for a second before we punch each other's faces in. And at that point,
that was my favorite part.
What?
That was my favorite part of the book, actually, where his father's like, "Go deal with this," and halfway through it, he's like, "Can I get a timeout?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, actually, you can." He's like, "Can we just talk?" He was like,
Yeah.
"Sure."
Sure.
And the whole thing is a giant misunderstanding. That's the hilarity of this book to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, it because it makes so much sense, and like why how come other aliens that have attacked in other books and stuff like that? How many of those were like maybe that was just a mistake, maybe that was a giant misunderstanding that almost ended the world.
Yeah, because they don't sit down and talk something out easily. Yeah.
I mean, all these superheroes that that are supposed to be gods among men have like this, like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and a few others. They have this superior intellect, that go along with their superior physical attributes.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them talk. They just punch.
Yeah.
Or batarang or twist Max Lord's head around backwards. Which was an awesome part in that book.
Yeah, I remember that. So this book took me back, reading it again, how much I like the aspect of this is a kid who's learning to deal with his powers and learning to try to become a superhero, but also trying to balance that with, being a senior at high school.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when he comes back in that first issue, this is like one of my only notes for that first chapter. He comes back home, and I mean, he's just completely wiped. He's like, "Man, yeah, Dad, I went up, I talked to the alien, and we had a battle. I punched him onto the moon, and then we sat down and talked, and he you could just tell he's completely wiped out." And he goes up to his room, and he's like, all he wants to do is just go to bed. But then his eyes kind of get wide, and he looks over and he sees the physics homework that he still has to do for school.
Ugh.
And it's the worst. Like
that is the worst feeling.
He's got all these powers. He can do just about anything he wants to do, but he has to do his homework.
He's still tied down by homework.
He's still got to do homework. But yeah, the Alan the Alien issue, like I said, my favorite, and a lot of that I think is because, just like you said, people that are supposed to be engaging in these super heroic acts, they sit down and try to talk it out. It's rare that you see that, and Mark goes about it by just saying, okay, let me try to address it this way, because maybe there is some kind of a misunderstanding, or just explain to me why in the world we're fighting. Tell me why I'm fighting you. And it shows you that his dad is everything. His dad is the Superman analog to this Image universe.
Oh, absolutely.
And Mark is just coming into his own, coming into his powers, but he's already been able to do one thing better than his dad has. So I know that's setting stuff up as we go forward into the series, but again, it's an easy way to show you that this kid, even though, he's green behind the ears when it comes to superheroing, he's got at least the smarts about him to try and resolve issues without punching people first.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Mark Radulich, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You got anything you want to say?
Well, I now that Ronnie mentioned it, I really did like the interaction he has with Alan the Alien. Also, and this becomes like a major theme throughout what I've read of this series, which is the first two trades, issues 1 through 8. How much he is, like, he wants to be like his dad, he wants to have superpowers, and he finally gets them, but he also still wants to be a kid, and he wants to date, and he wants to go to college. And these are things that are important to him. And so he's trying to figure it out. And what I like about Mark is he is a likable character.
Absolutely.
He has foibles like any human being. But I find myself rooting for him. I want him to succeed. And when he messes up, it's like you feel bad for him. It isn't like he's a bag of dicks and you're like, oh, I want him to have comeuppance. You want him to learn from his struggles and do better. And I'll tell you, like, Ronnie sent me the book, the first volume for Christmas, and he's like, you got to read this. And Like, I'm really high on this book. I'm really high on this character. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And I was kind of, and I guess because of what I'd seen a little bit of the cartoon and the way that it was being marketed, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like another boys thing. And I'm like, this is super positive. Like, it's somewhat of a deconstruction of the superhero genre, but unlike Watchmen, V for Vendetta, unlike Watchmen or The Boys or Jupiter's Legacy, it's still very positive on the superhero genre.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Image, I mean, not to interrupt you, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Well, Image already has all these established superheroes, and they actually stand for something good. And so it's not, they're not going to crap on their, own plate. So, they have to make it a little more positive. I guess if they, then, forget about people like Alan Moore, who just craps on everybody's dinner plate.
But I'll give you a more recent one. Christian and I reviewed Man of Steel by Michael Bendis today, and
yeah, true.
I made a comment about, like, what was the pitch here? Like, I understand people really, really like Superman, so what if I stripped away everything that everyone liked about him and just made him a broken shell of a human being?
Right.
You think people will enjoy that? Sure, you're buying Michael Bendis. You wrote a shitty House of M story. It's fine. Go for it.
It wasn't that bad.
You're right, it wasn't. I have now taken 2 or 3 minor quibbles, and because somebody questioned me about it, have decided I'm never letting this go.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
Couldn't even have my minor quibbles without an argument. In any case, my point being that you have so many of these writers, not the least of which was Brian Michael Bendis, who can't let the fantasy genre of superherodom just be. Everything has to be stripped down and deconstructed and made into a negative. And what I like about Invincible is that it is an eminently positive and forward-thinking book, and I really like that. And that's what I like about Mark. And in the second issue, number 6 here that we're talking about, there's a whole thing where he goes to college, and he's very much for being focused on just wanting to be a college student.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this isn't his whole life. You know what I mean? And he's not good at being a superhero, but he's as good as you would be first starting out with this. And he endeavors to be better. He's not inherently a bad person. And so, I really enjoyed these first 2 issues.
There's a couple things that stood out to me in the second chapter that I did want to just quickly mention. Then we can move on to the final 2. So there's, I think, just one page dedicated to resolving an issue from the first volume, and that is the bag of trash that lands in London that Grayson Mark chucked into orbit there from when he first found out he had his powers, which is pretty funny. Yeah. Then there's the awkward stuff that this book reminds me so much of being a teenager and coming into your own and kind of trying to go off on your own, but you still have ties to your parents and still have ties. But he goes off toward this college, and his mom and dad decide to make a day of it. We'll just put it that way. And he ends up coming home.
They're doing it.
They're in the middle. Of course, Omni-Man with super speed is able to take care of everything and get everything back into place, except he puts Mark's mom's shirt on backwards. And, of course, as soon as he opens the door, Mark can see that, and he's like, okay, I'm going to my room forever. I will not be seeing anybody.
Debbie do kind of be hot.
It's funny stuff. But anyway, all right, so I'm done with those 2 chapters. I mean, we have the kind of I mentioned in our first talk about how Kirkman could write a volume or write a comic and make me go, okay, I can't wait to see what's going on in the next issue. Issue 2 is something like that, where Adam Eve pops in at the Teen Team headquarters, and we end it with her seeing something that's just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What could potentially happen next? Why is she so upset? Oh boy, we're going to get our answer here in a second. So before I
go ahead.
No, let's pay some bills.
Yeah. All right, so you know what? I think Invincible's a really, really good book, but you know what could have made it better, Jesse?
Tell me.
Grammarly.
Okay. Tell me more.
If Kirkman had Grammarly when he was writing out the script for Invincible, when things maybe were a little thin, a little flat, and he needed to spice things up a bit, needed to give more detail, liven things up, Grammarly would have put up like a little light or an envelope or a paperclip or something, and be like, "Hey," and just push him out of the chair and just write it for him, because that's what Grammarly does.
I don't want to say that's false advertising, but please, what's the link?
To add to this?
Please.
The hell do we need to start doing that?
Well, Ronnie Adams, you should know that Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. You download Grammarly today. Go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to download Grammarly for free.
Harmonization. There we go, ladies and
Yes,
gentlemen.
I can't lie.
Tell me.
When did that happen?
We have been in Grammarly has been helping this podcast out for quite a while now.
Yeah, are you asking when did we start?
Listen to things, guys. You know this.
Okay, so to answer your question, we've been doing ad reads now for a few months.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can cut that out.
So you've got one more coming up here, Ronnie. So just be ready,
yeah,
okay?
Ronnie, I want you to start thinking about music you've been listening to lately. Don't tell me now. Wait till I have to plug AmazonMusic.com, okay?
There you go. There you go. All right, getting into the last two issues of this second volume. Omni-Man, nope. Let's go ahead and scroll up and get to the actual issue. This next issue is a kind of like a jam piece to kind of let you know about who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. And really, my notes go a little
Guardians
something
of
like
the Globe, you tart.
Did I say Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes.
You did. Chris Pratt is pissed at you.
Why would I write GOTG and not mess that up when I did my notes? I have no idea.
I don't know, but I'm just glad you didn't write Eternals.
Don't bring that up.
Did you see the teaser trailer to that?
Somebody get somebody on the phone right now. Midnight City's protector, Darkwing, stopping crime. In the middle of stopping crime, he gets a call. He needs to go back to the Guardians of the Globe headquarters.
Well done, sir.
The Red Rush, stopping crime and having a picnic at the same time. This guy is kind of like well, you know what? Let's do some analogs here because I want to make sure people understand who we're talking about. So Midnight City's protector, Darkwing, believe it or not, reminds me a lot of Batman.
No.
The Red Rush, Mark Radulich, Ronnie Adams, reminds me a lot of the... Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. Quicksilver.
Impulse.
North Star.
Oh, okay.
V for Vendetta.
Fast. V for Vendetta.
That'd been interesting. All right, so Red Rush is stopping crime while having a picnic with his love. He gets a call. He needs to head to Guardians of the Globe headquarters. I'll make it sound like I edited it in there. War Woman, she's having breakfast with her love, attacked out of nowhere by some dude she knew, apparently. She dispatches him and gets a summoning to Guardians of the Globe headquarters. And let me tell you, that's some Kirby-esque art.
Yeah.
So I could tell whoever was doing that was
Get as
channeling.
close to Wonder Woman as you can without actually getting to Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Aquarius, I believe is his name, or Aquarius.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Yeah,
The age of Aquarius.
Sing Aquarius.
Aquarius. Do-do-do-do-do.
All right.
No
Mark's
lisp.
got it.
No lisp that time.
Thanks.
No what?
No, shut up.
I love you, Mark.
I don't know if I can continue. Aquarius. Fish man. Aquarius.
You're
He's
more
bored.
West Virginia than I am, my friend.
He's that. It's Aquarius. I'm serious. It looks like I was thinking it's Aquarius, but it's Aquarius. I checked it twice, and I better just double check it right now on.
It's Aquarius.
Oh, thank goodness. All right. So there you eat that, Ronnie Adams.
You know what
Bars.
it's not, though? It's not the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Stop. Ronnie, do not pitch in there. Do not start to help him.
I do what I want.
Long, beautiful hair, flow it,
Listen,
grow
I didn't get a
it.
special intro.
This is the best. This is probably like somebody's favorite issue, and you guys sung all over it.
All right. So we got Aquarius.
Yeah, that's who we have. We have him down there. Fishman. He's bored. He gets
Who
called.
is as useless as the old school Aquaman.
He's in the middle of snoozing.
Yeah.
He's bored out of his mind.
Because it's under the ocean.
Under the sea. Under the sea.
I'm not getting you guys back together again. Mark asked me to come back to the show, and I'm really reconsidering it.
All right, I'll be good.
Martian Man and Green Ghost fighting out in space. They get a call to go to the Guardians of the Globe headquarters. All right? So as if you couldn't tell, there's some kind of emergency, and the Immortal, who's fighting a guy by the name of Biplane, all right? When in doubt, always throw him into space. Gets a call to be summoned to the Guardians of the Globe headquarters, all right? Now, they're all wondering, this is the whole issue, is them, we kind of get our snapshot of what they're doing in their respective places, and this alert, they're all going to go to the headquarters. Once they get there, they're trying to figure out who in the world summoned us. Why are we here? And within the span of 2 pages, they're all dead. Violently destroyed. The Justice League analog of this universe has been killed by one of their own, Omni-Man.
Why, Omni-Man? Why?
Dun, dun. All right. So, big time reveal in that chapter. I mean, throughout everything that we're going through, all of a sudden we learn that Omni-Man is not exactly who we've been led to believe he is. Omni-Man being appraised of the Guardians of the Globe and their death, the Guardians of the Globe's death, let's try that again, by a man that reminds me of Rorschach, but we find out that's not him. He's looking at the back of his head, and I'm like, there's no way that's Rorschach. No, it's not.
No, it's totally not.
Really not.
But it is a wonderful character.
Herm. Omni-Man playing it off as if he has no idea who did it. And apparently Black Samson is a suspect. Mark finds Eve, Eve, by the way, this lovely lady who he's been going to school with and, of course, has now become friends with. They both realize they have powers. Well, she shows up in his bedroom, and she's crying that she found we find the reason out why she was so upset in that issue. Her boyfriend, Rexplode, has been having relations with more than one of Duplicate.
Duplicate? This is so awesome. I mean, not that part, just the names of the. Yeah, I mean, they're just so like.
Rexplode, Duplicate, and
first of all, Rexplode with that name, he's going to be a complete douchehole.
Oh yeah,
douchebag.
Oh, yeah.
I mixed up words there and came up with a completely awful name to call somebody. But it was. I mean, like. But the names, Duplicate, Rexplode, so cool. Sorry, Go ahead.
You're all right. So resting her head on his lap, this is great. Mark's mom walks into the room to see them in a compromising position and immediately orders both of them downstairs for a talk. And I will tell you that it's only one panel, but yeah, it's Deborah, you said, right? Debbie.
Yeah.
Debbie is, oh my gosh, that is a mom pose, if anything. You're like looking up at her, and she's got this look about her like, you better not even mess around. Get your butt downstairs right now. So as they're having the talk, Omni-Man comes in and informs them of the Guardians of the Globe's death. Don't use abbreviations when they mean potentially something else. Just letting anybody else that does synopsis out there know. At the funeral, Savage Dragon Mark Radulich Shut up. Learns that Black Samson has been ruled out as the suspect. Omni-Man delivers his eulogy, but is interrupted by Black Samson's butler, Sanford, who laments that the Guardians of the Globe should have been his and pay for exiling his master. Omni-Man is able to take him out pretty easily. And now that night, Mark is getting ready to call girl from school when William shows up and asks him to take him flying. And with a smile on his face as they fly into the air.
It's such a goofy smile.
This is so gay as they fly off into the night. Back at the cemetery, two kids begin to dig up the Immortal's body because apparently something on Reddit... No, I'm just making that up. There's something going around that if you can drink from the Immortal's skull, who's been decapitated, but if you can drink from the Immortal's skull, you will have an immortal life, apparently. But as they're digging them up...
right?
Yeah, it sure does. But as they make all of their way down to where he's buried, the clones. Now, we didn't talk about them at all here in this episode.
Oh, man. Yeah, I forgot about the clones.
These two guys, big, blue, burly dudes who accuse each other of being the clone, which is some hilarity in my opinion.
They're amazing characters. I love them.
But the clones show up and they say, hey, we're going to take over. And that is where we end. 8 is enough. That's the end. So we only got 4 issues, which is, I like the fact that they keep them. 4 issues is just about right. And the pacing of his
4 to 5, yeah.
Yeah. The pacing of the way that these comics are laid out, they are such an easy read. I mean, it's just like boom, boom, boom. You could probably be through like 3 or 4 pages until you really have to lay into some text and take some time to start really reading some exposition or something that's being explained. But a lot of the action gets across in the panels and the pages without words. And I think it's perfect. Of course, in our first volume, I think it has to occur in that first volume because I remember me and you talking about it. But there is a dig at how the layouts are in Invincible, where they're using the same repeat panel over and over and over, and like they criticize themselves for doing that, but they do that in like I think this 4th and final chapter, or maybe it was the last one, but it's just a panel of Mark sleeping for 2 pages, but it's like 8 panels, and I'm like,
so great.
I mean. It's funny. It's hilarious. But anyway, okay. Ronnie, I'm going to go ahead and go to you first. We have the big Omni-Man reveal. Tell me your thoughts, initially.
Ever-loving mind.
Yeah. Dude, remember when we were doing the first volume, I'm like, I cannot wait to talk about what's going to happen. We couldn't. Right. Now we can. So what do you think?
Obviously we can. We can. Man, that was such an awesome dynamic, and like... It's so gloriously violent.
Oh, dude.
Compared to the other, superhero fights that went on, in the earlier issues. So, and all of a sudden, he's like cutting people in half with his hand, making a knife blade out of his hand. Like making, not a knife blade, but making just cutting. Oh my gosh, and cutting people's heads off. And the other thing is like. I love the Guardians of the Globe, but where the crap, who is the Immortal supposed to be, other than Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. Everybody else seems to have a similar...
if I had to guess, I would say Captain America.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he flies and he has super strength.
Captain America.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark.
But everybody dies, man. I mean, I
just
can't,
incredible. I couldn't wait to see where they went to next. To be honest with you,
I knew that when they did the TV series, this moment was going to happen. I didn't realize how soon we were going to get it,
right.
But I know that I couldn't wait to see how they adapted that because that was the turning point in this book where I was like, oh my gosh, what is the plan now? How are they going to handle this? What is Mark going to do? This world's Justice League is now gone, and it was done at the hands of one of the most powerful men there, and he's supposed to be the father of this protagonist that we've been reading this whole time.
Yeah.
So it's got to come down. Something's got to happen. But any other thoughts on that issue or anything that happens in the final issue where we learn about? It was good to see the other Image characters, by the way.
Yeah. That was the other thing. Like, I stopped reading Image after a little while. So I know Spawn and Savage Dragon and some of your more, I guess, quote unquote mainstream Image characters.
Yeah.
But they're never coming off with these guys that I'd never heard of before. And they seem super interesting, Like the Thor, is it Kid Thor? And the woman with the boxing gloves. And
As we're
just
going
silly
through
stuff that I know I would love, but I don't know where it came from. Super Patriot.
Now, Super Patriot, you've probably seen in the past.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say he's one of the more well-known ones.
Mighty Man he was in the pages of Savage Dragon, was also part of the Freak Force.
Yeah.
Shadowhawk.
Yeah.
Went around breaking people's backs, and there was a big HIV storyline.
Yeah, that was weird.
But there are some other ones in here. I'm on the same page as you are, where I'm just like, okay, who are these people? They look awesome, but who are they? Hey, look. Aside from old poo-poo Mark Radulich over there, who doesn't like Savage Dragon, I saw Savage Dragon and I popped.
Yeah,
like,
you did.
Oh, yeah.
I know you did.
You know I did.
I know. Wasn't Max in there somewhere?
Max?
The Max?
If the Max was in there, I would have told you that before.
I know. Okay. I just wanted.
Well, you're gonna make me turn pages or something.
Yeah, I was wanting to see you fangirl a little bit.
Stop.
Clutch your pearls. What?
Stop it. But yeah, seeing the other Image characters was pretty cool. I mean, what else can you say about that final issue? It's interesting to see them pay their respects to a fallen team. And of course, the guy that's giving the eulogy is the guy that killed them all.
Right.
It's horrible. It's crazy.
I'm telling you right now, I mean, they got me. He got me hooked.
Yeah.
With this exact reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already a fan. But when this came about, I was like, oh, I gotta keep going.
Yeah. Mark Radulich, what do you think, man?
My only comment to add to this is I'm not convinced. Now, I might say this, and Ronnie, who's read the whole series, is be like, nope, stupid. It is what it is. But I'm not convinced it was really Omni-Man. I feel like my comment when I read it, when I put my comment on Goodreads, was a nice little mystery has been started here because it's shown to be Omni-Man, but is it really Omni-Man? Is Omni-Man under someone else's control? Is it a clone? Is it someone in an Omni-Man mask? Like, what's the deal here? So I'm not convinced it's the real Omni-Man, and I'm anxious and I'm anxious to see like how the mystery is resolved.
Okay, very good.
Me too. For you, I'm anxious to see what you think.
Yeah, dude. When you make your way through, the thing is that you're watching the TV series. I made it through volume 5 of this comic series, and I can remember a few bits past the first episode. So when I'm saying, and I actually mean the episode, because they fit they pretty much fit these first 8 issues into the first 2 episodes. Now the thing is Ronnie's read more of the series obviously than I have. So let me just ask you one question. We'll try and keep it as spoiler free as possible, Ronnie. But does it hold true to the comic as the series progresses, or does it start to pull away from the comic?
Everything I've seen, it holds true.
Okay. All right.
There's some slight changes, some subtle changes that they've made.
Let's talk about Seance Dog. No, you guys say Seance Dog when you talk about the series. Did you see that they changed that to Seance Dog?
I didn't think it was Seance Dog. I thought it was, it's supposed to be Science Dog.
That's exactly right. It's supposed to be Science Dog, but they changed it to Seance Dog.
Is it Seance Dog?
In the series, it is, yeah. It's Science Dog in the comics, but for some reason, they changed it to Seance Dog. And this is like the most stupidest minuscule thing to like be obsessed about. But when I saw it, I was like, why is this changed? Why did they change that of all things? I mean, it's a damn. It's a fake character in the first place. There is legitimately a website dedicated. Well, I say website. There is something out there that explains why they're.
I'm sorry. I thought it was. Obviously, he's dressed like. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
As Doctor Strange.
As Doctor Strange in this, and I'm like, I mean, like, he was cooler as Science Dog.
Why not Science Dog?
Right.
Well, where you at, Mark? We just blew your mind with the Seance Science Dog talk. Now let's talk about some mountains.
I was going to say, can now we talk about the chain of custody for Captain America's shield?
I think you talked about that enough.
The what?
Oh, Ronnie, you haven't listened to our Falcon and Winter Soldier review yet?
No.
We spent a good half an hour on the chain of custody of Captain America's shield. From the time it was invented by Howard Stark to when Captain America dropped it in Civil War at Tony Stark's feet, to when he gave it back to him in Endgame, to when he gave it to when he gave it to Falcon at the end of Endgame, to when Falcon gave it to the military, to the U.S. government.
This all came up because somebody raised the question, like, well, can he legally like give that back? And there was, or can they legally take that back? I guess is what it was. And oh my gosh, yeah, I listened to that episode. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, we spent a good 20. We went to 20 to 30 minutes hashing out the legalities of who owns Captain America's shield.
This sounds like something I would not be interested in.
That is a 3-hour podcast of which we dedicated a chunk to that.
I love you guys. I love listening to your podcast. I mean, hey,
might just fast forward on that one.
That sounds awful.
We nearly drove Alexis off the show.
Oh.
Well, I have a feeling that one day it's not going to take much.
Well, I can tell you that it's good to hear that it kind of sticks to the comic. It's nice to see that. So I imagine.
Can I ask you a question, Ronnie? I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're fine.
How far into the series do they resolve who really murdered the Justice Globe?
The Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes, the Avenging Titans.
Justice Globe. Justice Globe. Jupiter is a Planet, starring Joaquin Phoenix on Netflix right now.
Timothy Elephant.
Too old to die. Too old to die. Orange is the new black.
Mark, you aren't seriously asking Ronnie to spoil like one of the. This is like a very important part of the series and a very important part of both the comic and the television.
Oh, they're going to resolve it in the show too. And just answer me this then: do they resolve it in the show?
Yeah.
Is the show accurate to the comic?
Yeah.
In its resolution?
Yes.
Fine. I'll just finish watching the last 3 episodes tomorrow.
I love this. I love it. I can't wait till you watch the final episode. Oh, man. It's good stuff. Well, okay. So, can we...
thoroughly...
One-word answers was perfectly fine, in my opinion.
I've never really heard a man have an aneurysm, but I think Mark might have one.
Well,
I'm good. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. No, I mean at the end of the show.
Okay.
Might happen.
I don't know. I mean, again, and we've talked about it on so many other podcasts, including the one that we actually had the topic conversation on, but you really haven't lived until you've sat through all 13 hours of Too Old to Die Young and then a 3-hour conversation about it. Or as Robert Winfrey likes to refer to it, the 3-hour therapy session that took place.
Yeah.
Listen, I watched scenes that Jesse sent to me. And Jesse is a dear friend whom I almost drove to Ohio to kill.
It's horrible. It was horrible.
You, sir, you jeopardized our friendship over this.
There was some bad stuff in that. Really,
it was god awful.
I probably didn't send some of the things that were they were just obscene.
Oh, I didn't know. Not that. It was just the chase scene.
Oh yeah,
it's so good.
Oh,
it's good.
It's the best.
If good as a room in hell.
My daughter's reaction was priceless. I am disappointed.
I am disappointed?
Yeah.
Wow! You let her watch that?
I let her watch that scene, yes.
Okay, good.
yeah.
No, I did not let her watch. I did not let her watch like the Mexican BDSM at the end of it.
Right, I know you wouldn't let her watch that because
we know better.
I'd call somebody on you. But
I'm mandating reporting on myself. How do you do that?
But no, like you all have heard my podcasts of yesteryear, and how I try to find some sort of joy in everything that I've watched. That sucked the joy out of past movies for me. But reading Invincible actually helped put joy back in my heart for reading
some superhero comics.
Yeah.
That's a good way to round it out there, in my opinion. And this, for me personally, I mean, Mark, I know you're kind of holding back there just because your tongue is telling you to do so. But I mean, when you came into this, you read the first volume because you had to prepare for the second volume and do a discussion on it. I mean, what are your thoughts on the comic? Do you think it's a fun comic, or is it just one of those things? Okay.
No, I really had a good time reading this, and I've read, a lot of the stuff I've read lately, has been more serious, and I enjoyed reading a more lighter, even with them, killing the entire Guardians of the Globe thing. Like, it's not nearly as graphic as something like The Boys,
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's not as heady or, deep thinking as Jupiter's Legacy. Invincible is a kind of wholesome story about a kid who gets superpowers, and his dad is Superman, and and he now needs to figure out how to fit this into his life, and and he has to deal. What does it say on the cover? It's like, let me go back.
Invincible.
Yes, cock for brains, but I mean. Girls, acne, homework, supervillains. When you're a teenager, it helps to be invincible. And I like that. I like that there's at least one book out there that's sort of taking the superhero genre and saying, okay, but what if we applied it to some suburbanite kid? What would he do? How would he act? And have fun with it, I sometimes think that Marvel and DC tend to be up their own ass, and they... and there's, and I'm not entirely sure who they're trying to market to these days with some of these stories that they're telling, but I feel like this is something, depending on how violent it got, that I could give to my kids to read and be like, here's a fun superhero story that I think you could identify with the main character.
The first 7 issues.
Okay, and then after that, it just goes off the rails.
No, I mean, it gets a little okay. So there's always going to be some seriousness to it because of the subject matter it deals with the Guardians of the Globe, with Omni-Man, or maybe not Omni-Man, whatever. But there's always, he's got some lighthearted points to it. Mm-hmm. It's not Walking Dead serious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Walking Dead is always going to be like the bleak, gray, black and white outcome. Legitimately, it's in black and white, and nobody is good. We are, they're not the Walking Dead, we are. So,
man, when you compare the fact that he does both of those comics, he does Invincible and he does Walking Dead, and you look at the stark contrast of those two comics, I mean, just in the color palette alone, I mean, Invincible is this bright, everything is bright and kind of comes off the page, and of course, Walking Dead done in black and white, and the subject matter is, while it is a zombie comic, it is about humanity trying to deal in that environment.
Literally nobody has. There are very few people with complete redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
So
Even Rick doesn't have redeeming qualities in the Walking Dead comic.
So I'm looking
He
at
has a few.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying he has a few. Don't get me wrong. He is the protagonist of that series. If he's still around, I haven't read it in a long time. But even he can be a dick sometimes. You know, he's not. You know, there's blood on his hands too. But that's where it goes with Invincible. I mean, he goes into that shining moment of every superhero of like, why don't I kill? I could easily put this to rest.
I'm looking at issues number 11 and 12, and they're both pretty bloody. So I would imagine, I'd imagine it doesn't seem like it gives into excess necessarily, but I think Kirkman doesn't hold back when he feels the need to bloody a character up.
Right. There's no like full on nudity like in some of the Image comics. I mean, shoot. What was that? Southern Bastards?
Oh yeah. I've heard about that. I've never read it, but I've heard some
actual scene, and there was an actual penetration scene in that comic.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, I was reading it because I'm a Buford Pusser fan and all that, and that's kind of what it was. And like, it got to that point, and I was like, what is this? There was no warning, there was no nothing, and I was like, the language in it is just horrendous and everything, and it's very violent. And I got to that, and I was like, "Yep, I'm done, man. I can't. This is porn at this point."
This is what again?
Southern Bastards.
Write it down, Mark.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
It's not that. Listen, it's in a crack house, and you know what? I'm probably just appealing more to you right now.
Say, stop drilling. You've hit oil.
Oh gosh.
So I have a pitch for you, Mark. Hardcore sex in a crack house. Go on.
Yes?
Interesting.
Wow.
How much would one pay for this?
So you were saying that that compared to something like that.
It's so tame. There's not even any like hard language in it. Like all the F-bombs and stuff like that are cut out. Now there is some, there's some adult language in it, and there's some, some of your comic book almost nudity with the hot women and all that crap, covered up with blankets and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's nothing that DC and Marvel haven't put out, I mean, shoot, DC, you got to see Batman dong. Which was disturbing to say the least.
Or a few. And then they were like, wait a second, so we need this back.
Ronnie, have you ever seen the pitch meeting for the Watchmen movie?
No.
I almost want to play it for you now just so you can see them talking about Dr. Manhattan's dick and the reaction he gets from it. It's so funny. It's like, so we have to show that on screen? Yeah, I feel like the audience needs to see Dr. Manhattan's dick. It's like,
unnecessary.
I feel like it's not really, oh my god, there it is.
I mean, it's just like, well, if Alan Moore is writing a comic book,
you're going to see dick.
You're going to see dick. You're going to see pain in some sort of way.
I think you can count on two things with Alan Moore. Three things. One, it'll be up its own ass, fuck Firestorm, and and full-on male frontal nudity.
Yeah.
Fuck Firestorm.
Fuck Firestorm.
He's written some really good things in the past, but...
Sure.
Huh?
Sure. It's fresh on my... Alan Moore is fresh on my mind. One, because I keep a list of all the movie reviews I haven't uploaded yet, and there's the entire Alan Moore month that we did.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to put those up at some point. Because as Jesse knows, I've overloaded the calendar.
It's funny because Mark's like content pacing. I've never heard of it. Here's everything we ever had.
Ever.
It's coming. Expect hourly doses of old shows coming your way.
I got a talking to about drowning out other podcasts, and that maybe putting 5 shows up in a single day was not a good idea.
Oh, boy.
You got a talking to about that?
I got a talking to, and was told, hey, maybe 1 or 2 shows, not 11. In a 24-hour period.
I've got some work cut out for me on the Daredevil podcast. Just be looking for that, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, it's standing at 4 hours. Okay, we got
Holy
season
monkey!
1.
What did you?
This was 4 episodes of season 1 Daredevil. It's coming together. I just started there this past Sunday, and just be aware we're going to have ourselves a nice, solid block of discussions on Daredevil season 1 that will be hitting the airwaves soon. Let's set aside a day for that, Mark. Not an hour. Let's set a day aside for that one, and then we'll make sure that goes up at some point. But anyway, I guess let's go ahead. We'll get back to the book here. Mark said his final thoughts. Ronnie Adams, anything left unsaid about these 4 chapters of volume 2?
No, legitimately, this will hook you in and keep you wanting more. It is one of. It's in the top 5 favorites of all time. Yeah. Just because of how awesome it starts and how silly it gets later on. And, I want Mark to read more so I can talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Have you read the entire series, Jesse?
No, I'm still at the point where I was 5 years ago, where I hit volume 5 and stopped. So I stopped and have not had a chance to go back. So
right.
I would love and we know that the series is scheduled for season 2 and season 3.
Yeah.
So we will be having the opportunity to revisit Invincible again in the future. So I would suggest that we go ahead and at least do volumes 3 and 4 to coincide with those release. But yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I want to see Mark experience it. If he enjoyed this, Mark, if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed what you read, it keeps that up and it gets better too. That's a great thing to say about a comic book. Like, you feel like you could have hit the climax, or at least just like you said, the start of a good mystery here. It does get better, and it continues to get better. Not that we're starting out bad. It just means we're starting out great, and it gets better from here. It's a fun read. So I guess with that being said, we'll go ahead and get into plugs.
Well, before we do plugs, hey, Ronnie.
Hey there, Mark.
What kind of music? Now, listen, you're a dungeon master, and by that I mean like BDSM. No,
why?
I haven't been on Instagram for a while, Ronnie. I didn't know things have changed.
Let me tell you something. Ain't not a dang thing changed.
No, you like to play the D&D, and so do you
like to play the D&D.
And so
get you all into a game soon.
Yeah, you've been threatening to do D&D with us for a while now. Poor Pat's like, when are we doing D&D? Like every week.
No, sorry, Pat.
Anyway, so you're sitting there and you're developing your campaign and you're preparing to dungeon master a Dungeons and Dragons game. What kind of music are you listening to while you make your preparations?
Oh man, I listen to The Who, which I don't mean Baba, or what is it?
Baba O'Reilly.
Baba O'Reilly. Gosh, you
Baba
ever
Ganoush?
say something?
Baba
You
Ganoush.
ever say something that doesn't sound right in your head, but you know it's right?
Yeah, I had to no lie. Sean and I were reviewing Shadow and Bone last night, and I compared something to the Battle of Pelennor Fields, and I'm like, Pelennor Fields? That doesn't sound right. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what am I thinking? Like fucking Strawberry Fields? Like, you know, like no, it's Pelennor.
Right. But I listen to The Who, which is the Mongolian metal group.
Oh, The Who HU. Yeah, The Who's fucking
HU.
amazing.
Yes, I love The Who. They are incredible. And also... Sorry.
That's okay. I was like,
I completely zoned out for a second. No. Wow, Ronnie, you're an idiot. But I listen to them. I've listened to Sabadon. I've listened to Manowar. I've listened to a lot of these like epic metal bands.
Yeah, you
know?
seem to be into the battle metal. You should get into Tursis. You'd really like them.
Please send me, the name and how to spell it, because I will misspell it and never find it.
You can't tell from the way I'm slurring my speech how to spell Tursis.
I didn't want to say anything, okay?
How many F's are in there? How many F's?
TUF, your mom, bat signal.
No, bad signal. But, I listen to a lot of stuff. I listen to the Steel Woods. I listen to the Zac Brown Band. I listen to a little bit of Kanye.
Well, did you know that you could stream... Okay,
wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
I listen to musicals as well.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, The Greatest Showman, Wicked, a lot of stuff.
Hamilton?
Nice.
Hamilton.
You gonna go? Are you gonna watch In the Heights on HBO Max on June 11th?
No.
Do you hate Puerto Ricans?
No. What the? I was going to that with you. No, I do not. And...
Boycotting HBO Max due to the Puerto Rican content.
But no, I haven't even watched Hamilton on Disney Plus yet.
Okay, neither have I.
Yeah, but those are the kind of music I like, and I actually would like something that would, appeal to my eclectic tastes.
Well, Ronnie, when you were listening back to this podcast later, I need to apologize to you now. I'm sorry, Ronnie. I promised that if you came on this podcast, I would behave, and I've insulted you now like twice. So. I promised. I promised I wouldn't do that. I promised I wouldn't accuse you of being a racist and all these other things I used to do that drove you away from podcasting in the first place. And despite myself, I did it anyway. Anyway, I'm a bad zoot. Bad zoot.
I don't understand.
Naughty zoot.
Naughty zoot.
Naughty zoot.
Excuse me. Naughty zoot.
And Jesse, you know what that's from because me and Alexis made you watch it.
Okay. Go ahead with the plug now that you've been doing for about 5 minutes.
Well, Ronnie, you can check out The Who and musicals and anything you want if you click the link in our description for getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. That's getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. You get a free 30 days of Amazon Music. You can stream all the music you want, and if you don't like the service, you can cancel, but you'll have had that 30 days. It didn't cost you anything. And if you do like it, you keep it. You can, if you're already using Amazon Prime for this, that, and the other thing, watching movies, ordering, if you're like me and you're constantly ordering various dental aids because your mouth is falling apart at the seams due to cancer treatments from almost a year ago.
Oh, now I feel bad that I made fun of you. I mean, I know these things about you. I keep up with you, but I still feel bad.
No, I don't feel bad. I'm sure on some level I deserve all this. Anyway,
well, you call race quite a bit.
What time are you tagging the Amazon ad, by the way? Because I would say after that's probably a good idea.
Anyway, get AmazonMusic.com/W2M network for a free 30 days of Amazon Music. Now, Jesse, you can conclude the show.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, man, I tell you what, this was a good time. I'm glad that number one, I got to get back here with you two guys and talk about Invincible.
When are you coming back for good? I hate this.
No update yet. I mean, I know that things are on their way to. Things are looking up. We'll just put it that way.
You're such a cock tease. Jesus Christ.
I can't help it.
Hey, Ohio, stop stealing.
Oh, boy. Yeah. That right there goes in one ear and goes right out the other.
Or West Virginia. You act like this is foreign to me.
Yeah. It's bad. I just know that we're busy and nothing's been updated as of yet as to when I can come back on a more permanent basis. But I can tell you that when I know for sure, I will absolutely. All they have to do is say, "Hey, Jesse, we're not doing overtime anymore," and I'll be like, "All right, good. I've got podcasts I got to do. I've been trying to put some money away for doing a house. But if you're going to tell me no, I'll get right back to the thing that doesn't pay me, and that would be podcasts. I will be right back here in a heartbeat." But
and then Chris Bailey wonders why between you and Alexis, when are we getting paid for this? I need to buy a house. When am I getting paid for my time? And I'm like, I wish I could pay people. And Bailey's like, you don't have to pay people. We want to spend time with you. No, apparently everyone wants to get paid.
Apparently. Well, hey, it's a fun read. I can't wait to get back and talk about Volume 3 at some point in the future, which most likely we will be doing. And with that being said, let's go ahead. We'll get into plugs. Ronnie Adams.
Yeah.
You're up to bat, man. Tell everybody what you're doing here lately and where people can find you if you want to do so.
Well, heck yeah, man. I actually got out of the podcasting game and got into the streaming game. I have a streaming channel called Misfits and Miscreants on Twitch, and we stream a bi-weekly and weekly, two games, one bi-weekly and one weekly, games of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's a live play podcast, and we're running Curse of Strahd weekly, and another game called Trouble in Winterhold every other Saturday. Mm-hmm. We are taking this coming Saturday off if this releases here in the next week.
It's gonna release tomorrow. Okay. We're done.
So in the next, we're taking this Saturday off due to Memorial Day. But we'll be back after that. And but yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I run one game and I play in the other. I will be running the game after Trouble in Winterhold, so I'll be running two games on the stream. And we're doing some stuff, man. I'm planning on getting some board game, card game play streaming soon from Hypermind, which is a gaming store here in Burlington, North Carolina. And we are that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some limited one shots of other TTRPGs, tabletop role playing games, with some guys that I met online through a con called GaryCon. Now, speaking of GaryCon, we also have something really special coming up in the month of July. My friend and I, the DM that's running the Saturday game, and my DM mentor Wade, we are bringing a special guest in for 3 days, and he's going to be running some games for us at Hypermind, and that is Ernie Gygax Jr., the son of Gary Gygax.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Who is the co-creator of Dungeons & Dragons. Now, of course, Gary passed on some time ago, but Ernie has agreed to come in and hang out with us and run some games. And it is a ticketed event. We'll be selling tickets for a Wednesday night session, Thursday night session, and a Friday night session. And then we'll have a streamed battle interactive where Ernie will be playing at the tables with us. And we'll have 4 different tables with 4 different DMs, me being one of them, going at once playing the same game.
Ooh, neat.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're doing some cool stuff. We're getting some traction. And in between the D&D games, you just get to see my big ugly head playing some video games and hanging out. So that's a lot of fun. I just started playing Resident Evil Village, and I scream a lot, like a young girl.
That's
so yeah, that's what I've been into. And I'm going to get you two, Pat, and I think Winfrey, I don't know if he'd be down for it, but I'd like to see Winfrey play just because I want to annoy him. And get you guys into a network game of D&D.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Sounds like some great content, man. Look forward to hearing about what happens at the cons. Man, it'll be good to get back to cons.
Oh my gosh, I have bought tickets to GaryCon in Wisconsin 2 years now, and they have canceled both of them due to Corona. I knew this year was going to be it was up in the air, and then they just finally said, no, we're done. But they canceled the year before the 2019 one. Gosh, really? Yeah. They canceled the 2020 one. I'm sorry. Yeah, canceled the 2020 one at the last minute. And so I bought tickets 2 years now, not been able to go, but I will go next year God willing, and the creek don't rise, to get up to Wisconsin, get up to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and play some D&D with some of the greats, man. Joe Manganiello goes there. I don't know. I won't play with him probably. But you don't know who he is, right? The actor.
Yeah, I've heard of him because you've explained to me about. He's got his own channel, doesn't he?
He's got a lot of stuff, but he was in Magic Mike. He was in True Blood.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I got it.
Married to Sofia Vergara. There's a lot of people that Matthew Lillard. There's a lot of people that play that you wouldn't realize. I mean, like Joe Manganiello has a private game that he doesn't stream or anything that includes Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. It includes Paul White, Big Show, Vince Vaughn, and a few other people.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously they just keep it between them because they just want to play.
Yeah. But
they post on Instagram, and it's incredible to watch these guys be into something that I'm into. That back in the 80s and 90s, you were like, no, this is either the devil or just for nerds, So yeah, a lot of good stuff, man. So I'm sorry I hijacked it there for a long time. I apologize. So it's back to you guys.
You're good. All right, Mark Radulich, what do we got upcoming on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network?
Okay.
Sorry.
Either that's a sigh of like, oh my gosh, I've got to try and get through this, or oh my gosh, there's a lot of upcoming. What's this going to be?
Earlier today, myself and Christian reviewed Bendis' Man of Steel. Tomorrow, Winfrey and I are reviewing Castlevania Season 4, the final season, and then he's pushing me in the pool, and he's taking over Metal Hammer of Doom, and we are talking Galactic Kraken, Starship Velociraptor, which you can find on AmazonMusic.com.
Wait a minute. Who's doing this to you?
That's Robert Winfrey taking over. Galactic Kraken, Ronnie Adams.
I know. I heard.
All right.
Ronnie Adams will be back. He's making a double shot this week. He'll be on TV tonight. Yep, Wednesday we'll be talking Invincible, and then on Thursday the Four Kings of Boxing. We start with Chapter 1. Roberto Duran, he punched out a horse. On Friday, we are re-airing our review of Maleficent, and Jeff Sloboda from the MCU's Bleeding Edge has threatened to come back. We will be allegedly reviewing Without Remorse with Michael B. Jordan, the new Tom Clancy movie on Amazon Prime. Jesse has the syndicated source material, What If Spider-Man Had Kept the Cosmic Powers? And then,
hey! What now on that?
I don't remember if you were in on it or not. I know that we talked about the what if the alien costume
That's
had
what
possessed.
I'm thinking about. Yeah, never mind.
And I think I snuck in that one like the day after or the week after or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we are continuing to release older shows, and on Sunday, Robert Winfrey finally gets a turn with Cruella coming out Friday, May 28th, which is why we're releasing Maleficent. He's releasing Everybody Loves the Bad Guy, Disney Villains Part 1. So,
wow.
So he's re-releasing that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, over the next year, he's going to be re-releasing a lot of the Everyone Loves the Bad Guy shows.
Hey, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have access to any old Scream Boy stuff?
All of it.
If you find something in there, you have my permission to air it if you so choose.
Oh, good deal.
Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Last week we reviewed Luke Cage Season 1, Jupiter's Legacy Volume 1, Spiral, Saliva Every 20 Years, X-Men number 11, Jupiter's Legacy Season 1, Impact Under Siege, WrestleMania Backlash. And that was Sunday through Thursday. On Friday we did just as many shows.
That's why you got to talk to.
We re-aired Batman v Superman, our review of that. Alexis and I reviewed MODOK Assassin. Robert Winfrey and I reviewed Army of the Dead. And then Jason Teasley and I did the Zombies trilogy. Zombies 1, Zombies 2, and Aquarium of the Dead. And then finally, Pat Mullen and I reviewed Missing in Action, the Missing in Action trilogy. I'm done. I'm going to smear Orajel all over my tongue, take pills. and go to bed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you covered pretty much everything that I did. You didn't mention Tripped Up Trivia, right? I want to make sure. All right. Tripped Up Trivia. Check that out. It's our trivia show. We had a good time. We talked about science fiction for this past month's show and upcoming.
Who's hosting this crap?
Well, that was myself and Alexis Hana. We talked about science fiction. We had 4 guests on. Well, actually, yeah, we had four guests on.
Are you not inviting me because I know you whip your butt at trivia?
Listen, they can't get any of these guys who hate women to come on the next show talking about female superheroes. So go jump on that one.
Why do you say that I hate women?
I didn't say you did. I said the rest of the guys that, look, they're having trouble getting guests for the female superhero show, so you should jump on that one.
So we've got one guest lined up. I know that for sure because I reached out to him already, and that is Al Sedano. At least that's his plan. We're hoping to have him on.
It's not exactly the show I wanted to come on.
Ronnie Adams, I'm not twisting your arm. That's Mark Radulich.
What are you, a fucking diva? What are you, Robert Winfrey? Only the best fruit?
It's only the stuff that I'm interested in.
Ugh.
Female superheroes. I started working on the questions today, so ladies and gentlemen, just be ready. That's coming up in June.
If it ain't Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, as she's later called, I just don't know about it. I like that.
You trust me. You would know.
The Captain Marvel movie was hog trash, but the books were good.
Hey, Ronnie, you want to arm wrestle for the Tesseract?
I think I'd rather headbutt you. like Thanos did, and she grins at him. I'm like, no. That's not how that works. Thanos is much more powerful.
So if you like to play games and you want to listen to a podcast and play along with us, you're more than welcome to do so.
I have one last thing.
Yeah.
twitch.tv/misfits and miscreants.
There it is. Keep an eye out for an upcoming unspoken issues on WCW number 1. That's right. Dean Compton and I talked about some wrestling, and man, was it a rockin' good time. We had a fun time. So check that out. That'll probably be airing next Wednesday. With that being said, Mark Radulich, I cracked you in the chair, right with the jaw. It was crazy. I cracked you in the jaw with the chair earlier. Now, sir, take us out of here. Sign off.
Thanks. For Jesse Starcher, who refuses to take back his show because he's a dick. For Ronnie Adams, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.